What's poppin', fam? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm gonna show you guys how to make R&B samples with little to no music theory. As a quick disclaimer though, even though you don't need music theory to make these samples, it's highly recommended. I got a keyboard right behind me that I practice regularly. I am trying to get better at it, and even though I'm still a complete novice, it already makes a huge difference in my music. So yeah, go pick up an instrument and go learn it. But in the meantime, let me show you guys how to make these samples.
Alright guys, so we got an empty FLP pulled up. The first thing you want to do is you want to pick out a scale that you're familiar with. For this video, we're going to be using the C major scale just because it's easy to follow. It's just all the white notes. Then you want to build your first triad. If you don't know what a triad is a chord that's made up of 3 notes: the root, the third, and the fifth. So now we got our first little chord progression, and I made these just by making triads. You want to mess around with it until you find something that you like, and that's cool, but it doesn't really sound like R&B yet, so we're gonna add a 7th to them. Maybe a 9th. And all this is following the same principles I mentioned earlier, guys. It's just the root, 3rd, 5th, 7th, and 9th. And we could keep going and mess with it until you find something that you like. I think I can make this a little more interesting by adding 2 more chords right here. Can make this one repeat. So for this last chord right here, it was just an idea that I had in my head, and I reverse engineered it. So I started with the top note because I heard this right here, and I just built it down. It was the same principle pretty much. You have the root, the 3rd, the 5th, and the 7th right here. I like to just keep it simple, and then whatever I hear in my head, try to put it to the thing. Now what I like to do is to randomize the velocity. Strumming it also sounds real nice, as long as you don't overdo it. So the second step is layering, counter melodies, and textures. Alright guys, I really tried my hardest to make the sample from scratch while explaining my thought process, but I had a really hard time. So that's something I'm gonna need to work on. In the end, I ended up just cutting the camera off and making the sample, and now I'm gonna break down my thought process and everything I did. So we got the keys right here. You already know how I made these. Next is the pad. The pad follows the exact same chord progression, and this is what the pad sounds like. Next, I added these bells right here. A cool trick for when you're making your counter melodies and you're having a hard time coming up with anything, you can take your chords and make a melody out of them. Let me show you what I mean. So you have these chords right here, and bam, I just arpeggiated them and I made this melody. Normally that's kind of boring. You want to spice it up some, use it as a start to, you know, get more creative. And I did the same thing with this guitar right here, but this guitar only plays on the 2nd half. It just adds a little more seasoning to it. Next I added this lead. And there was no logic behind it while I was making the beat. It just came to me. And then I had this guitar one shot right here. It's pretty simple. It's another instance where I really heard it in my head and I just went on the piano roll and just clicked it out. So I really didn't add no effects to that either. Just little EQ and reverb. And then you have the bass, which is just following the bass notes of the chord. And then lastly, you have this perk loop right here. And I added this automation right here, which makes it pan from left to right. It's really subtle, but I like to do that to my drums. I didn't add a lot of textures to the sample, but adding textures does make your sample a lot more interesting. Just use them sparingly. The same goes with effects and automations. Just make sure you're not doing too much, but they do spice up your sample and really give you the sound you're going for. So yeah, with that being said, here's what the sample sounds like all together.
Alright guys, thank you for watching. Make sure you cop the sample in the description, completely free. And all I ask is that you like the video, subscribe, maybe give your boy a little follow on Instagram. I don't know. Anyways, it's your boy Darkside. Y'all be safe. We out.